This is an artificial diamond made from someone's ashes. And this is an AI that lets your dead grandmother text you from beyond the grave. Believe it or not, this is all part of a booming $20 billion industry called death care. Every civilization has gotten their hands in it, from Mayan gold masks to Chinese jade suits to Viking ship burials. Which raises a very real question: why do humans make art for the dead? See this? This is the Blombos Cave in South Africa. And some of the earliest jewelry on Earth was buried with the dead right there, 75,000 years ago. And this? The Varna graves, Bulgaria, 65,000 years ago. Sorry, 6,500 years ago. One less zero. Roll her back. The Varna graves, Bulgaria. And that's gold, some of the earliest gold. In crowns, breastplates, again, buried with the dead. And these are the death pits of Ur from Mesopotamia, 4,500 years old. These are all attendants dressed in jewelry that were sacrificed and laid in formation around a royal corpse. They used humans as symbols, sacrificial grave art. Joseph Campbell, the writer and mythologist, once said, "It is in the recognition of death that consciousness arises." I would say the Mesopotamians certainly took ritualizing mortality to a grave level. And you're probably familiar with the rest. Painted mummies, Polynesian bone carvings, Dia de los Muertos, Victorian death masks, mausoleums, sculpture, gardens, and memorials, and on and on and on it goes. Yeah, we've been doing it for a long time. What about luxury jewelry though? Today, Cartier sells love, and Tiffany sells forever. But here's the dark truth. Even luxury jewelry was born in death. Before diamonds were forever, they were for the dead. From skull rings, to lockets of hair, to jeweled relics aristocrats wore for remembrance. This gold chain, your Cartier ring, yeah, originally born from death art. Art for the dead, or death art as I'm calling it, that's everywhere. And it's not just ancient history. In 2025, Americans alone will spend over $20 billion on funerals. Just one U.S. coffin company, Batesville Coffee Co. Coffin Co? Oh my God, I said Coffee Co. No, you don't want coffee in a coffin. Could get coffee in a coffin. Coffee and coffins. Instead of coffee and cars, coffee and coffins. Just one U.S. coffin company, Batesville Coffin Co., makes $1 billion a year. And the tombstone industry, conservative estimates say $1.6 billion in 2023 and growing. Others, they say it's at $12 billion already. And the death care industry, it's valued at $147 billion annually. That's bigger than Croatia's GDP. 100,000 years, billions of hours, billions of dollars, all spent making art for the dead. Right? Or is it for something else entirely? This is 70 feet of hieroglyphs rolled up in a single papyrus scroll. But what does that have to do with anything? I'll tell you. The Egyptians called it the Book of the Dead, a spell book for the afterlife packed with prayers and incantations. It's one of the finest pieces of death art out there. Centuries later, the anthropologist Ernst Becker would write this: "Man is half animal and half symbolic. The symbolic is our defense against death." The Egyptians knew that truth thousands of years before Becker ever put it into words. So Egyptian families would commission custom scrolls, like the Book of the Dead, inscribed with names and spells like a travel visa. This early death art, these books, they were guides through 12 perilous gates to Osiris, god of the afterlife. And without one of these spell books, you risked getting lost forever, or literally devoured in the underworld. What did other civilizations do? The Greeks would slip coins into the mouths of their dead to pay Charon, the ferryman of the dead, to cross the river Styx. He's like an ancient Grim Reaper with a boat. And the Vietnamese Taoists, they had literal painted celestial maps for the dead. They showed the 10 courts of hell, judges, gates, even shortcuts and spirit ladders like cheat codes for the afterlife. Legal papers for eternity. I hope I get all that stuff. A map, a money, a lawyer, and a really big flashlight for the afterlife. It sounds a little dark. Coins to pay Charon, maps to survive hell itself. Death art was always, and has always been, a passport for the underworld. And wait until you see this. These are Ghana's modern day fantasy coffins. How'd you like to be buried in a Coca-Cola bottle coffin? Or how about a giant fish? Master carpenter Kane Quay first built an airplane-shaped coffin for his grandmother because she had always dreamed of flying, and thus the fantasy coffin was born, which declares the role or status of the person in the afterlife. Ghanaians are literally buried in whatever they can dream up. If you're a lifelong traveler, you get a cruise ship coffin. A mechanic? How about a Mercedes-Benz? Ice cream bars, tennis shoes, taxis, even a giant chili pepper. I don't know if I'd want to spend eternity in a hot pepper. That sounds a little hot. All right, we gotta pat ourselves down here because it's like 100 degrees. Next upgrade for the studio, air conditioning. Ugh. Death art is everywhere, from hairless dog effigies in Mexico and gold masks in Mycenae to the Toraja tribes in Indonesia who still dig up their own dead to dress them in clothes. We're doing a short about that one, you should check it out. So death art isn't ornamental, it's armor. A map, proof you mattered, a boarding pass to eternity, wherever that might be. But here's a tiny problem. The dead never see any of their death art. They couldn't take it with them. So if all that creativity, work, and money wasn't for the dead, then who or what was it for? The Mexican poet and Nobel Prize winner Octavio Paz once said this: "To the people of New York, Paris, or London, death is a word that is never pronounced. The Mexican, however, frequents it, jokes about it, caresses it, and celebrates it." So according to Mr. Paz, death gives life meaning. Think about the elves in Tolkien. They were immortal, but they were miserable. The elves called death the doom of man, but they also envied it because it made life finite and thus gave it meaning. Paz and Tolkien, they're both saying the same thing. Yes, death is a tragedy, but simultaneously it's a gift, an escape from suffering. Which begs an important question. Are we protecting the dead with art, or are we protecting ourselves from the suffering of losing them? All of that is a shield against the unbearable truth that we all vanish. Death art allows us to believe, while alive, that dying is a journey and not really the end. Maybe funerary art was never about the dead. Maybe it was about the gods and proving to the cosmos that we still believed, still obeyed, still feared. Maybe death art is a broadcast, a genuflection, an offering for the supernatural. Oh wait, I got one. Death art as control. Think about it. Funerals have always been where power is transferred. Kingship, land, wealth, it gets passed from generation to generation at death. Death art, for that matter, could be propaganda. Look at the Terracotta Army, the Taj Mahal, the tombs of Sipan in Peru, gold masks, giant pyramids, Coke bottle coffins. It's all messages to the living that this is who mattered. Message, that's it. What if death art is not just for the dead or for the living, not even the gods or for the rich? What if death art is a message for the future? Since our bodies just can't last forever, our ancestors had to find another way to leave something behind, and in a way, to live a little bit longer. Could it be that every coffin, mask, and scroll, even the jeweled mourning ring that gave birth to Cartier and Tiffany, was and is a message across time? What if they left all this great art behind to show us how they existed and how they faced death when their time came? So art isn't just a passport to eternity, or a payment for safe crossing, or a tribute to some god. It's a message in a bottle from our ancestors, addressed directly to us. Like one of my favorite movie lines goes, "What we do in life echoes in eternity." Now think about this one last thing. If the earliest art known to man was art brought to the grave, then perhaps art became because of death. Which got me thinking, perhaps we got it all backwards. Perhaps both life and art couldn't be without death. Perhaps death isn't art's subject. Death is instead art's origin story. Meaning without death, there may have never been art at all. So the ultimate secret to the question of why we spend so much money on the dead is this. We make art because dying is unbearable to the living. And art is the only thing that makes it survivable. So look, if this got you thinking, hit like and subscribe. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one.